In college, I had every intention of becoming an English professor. This was going to be the end result of my double major in English and art. I was going to write stories and paint pictures. But as is so often the case, life happened. I discovered the realities of adulting and found security in a human resources role. All of this to say, it will seem natural that I value creativity and view it as an important leadership skill. Please understand, though, that the significance I give to creativity here is not because of my own artistic leanings. In fact, for our purposes, creativity is completely separate from artistic ability. I do think art belongs in the workplace, but that's a conversation for another day. Today, we are concerned with creativity and the role it plays in a leader's ability to choose grace. The power of creativity to create balance between the human and the business needs of the workplace. Its ability to equip leaders to navigate the realities of working while human. You're listening to the Well Led Podcast, and I'm Kate Johnson, owner of 123 Limited. This month, we continue exploring the leadership essential choosing grace and turn our attention to the next supporting skill, creativity. Now, you may be wondering, what does creativity have to do with choosing grace? What exactly is creativity in leadership? Or even, what if I can't draw a stick figure? Not to worry, I have answers, and none of them involve drawing. Today, I want to expand a bit on behaviors associated with this skill as a way to describe what it is and why it matters. Next week, we will hear from other voices to broaden our perspective on supporting and practicing creativity. And this month's lesson for effectiveness will explore a brief menu of exercises for you to consider and try on for size. So, let's begin where we often do, by defining our terms. In this context, leadership competence, I'm approaching creativity not as artistic ability or even innovation, but as an expression of critical thinking. It extends beyond creating new ideas to recognizing and choosing the right idea. So creativity is not confined to artistic pursuits. Instead, it encompasses being adept at making new things, like ideas, and possessing discernment. To lead well, it's important to be skilled at making space for innovation, for different ways of thinking, and allowing people to step outside the norm. This is essential to creating thriving work environments where employees can be authentic, creative, and safe. In short, leadership creativity is an expression of critical thinking that makes way for the best ideas. It's logical right now to also get clear on what we mean by critical thinking. The foundation for critical thinking, and can we just take a moment to enjoy the fact that a foundation for critical thinking even exists? They've shared a brief conceptualization of critical thinking that describes it as, quote, self-guided, self-disciplined thinking, which attempts to reason at the highest level of quality in a fair-minded way. People who think critically consistently attempt to live rationally, reasonably, empathetically. Close quote. Rational, reasonable, and empathetic. These can serve nicely as our framework here, a way to name and organize behaviors that demonstrate creativity. To let us answer the question, what does creativity in leadership look like? Creativity that is rational looks for the underlying basis of a problem or circumstance. It is the intellectual aspect of creativity, evaluating the what and why behind a solution. When a leader is rationally creative, we can observe them doing some of the following. They ask powerful questions. This includes open-ended, follow-up, and even hypothetical questions. Let's say a team faces a tough decision. In this case, the leader will delve beyond a standard, what do you think we should do? They will invite employees to imagine possibilities, challenge expectations, and even offer new approaches that haven't been considered yet. It could sound like, if time and other resources were not a factor, what would be the ideal solution? Or what could prevent this from being a success? Or if we were to look back on it in a year, what would be the approach that made us proud of our work? These leaders will also seek expertise beyond themselves and even their team. Ego is set aside in favor of the intellectual process and the desire to understand what they are facing. Rationally creative leaders are intellectual magpies, either by nature or by habit. This can take the form of reading, watching the news, listening to podcasts, any activity that allows them to collect ideas and information. They also demonstrate a willingness to delay action when appropriate in order to allow themselves and their team time to think. In fact, preserving time for thinking is a priority for the rationally creative leader. Without it, they cannot evaluate and discover the underlying factors that will play into solutions and other answers. This is also time used to synthesize new ideas and team input. Reasonable creativity builds comprehension of a problem's scope and one's ability. It is the practical aspect of creativity, working to find the how or best application of your own ideas or the skills of others. We can observe behaviors that include experimentation. This involves taking a trial and error approach yourself and supporting and encouraging it within your team. The practical aspect of creativity relies on lessons learned, which is closely related to experimentation. Attempts to try new approaches will result in mistakes, and reasonable creativity builds a catalog of a kind to reference what works, what doesn't, and what could be. Together, experimentation and learning create knowledge. This type of knowledge makes creativity a powerful leadership skill. These leaders will also demonstrate a willingness to say no to the first idea or the shiny idea. We could think of this as having a Goldilocks mindset, or not seeking perfection, but the solution that is just right. And last, creativity that is empathetic focuses on understanding others. It is the interpersonal aspect of creativity and accounts for the who of both problems and solutions, the relationships and interactions. Related behaviors include recognizing human frailty and fallibility, and then taking steps to account for it. This could be imagining how your team might respond to a major change before you begin communicating, and adapting your messages accordingly. It could mean providing procedures and resources that help employees avoid common mistakes before they happen. It often looks like taking the time to consider what real people need on the job to perform their best, and then making it a reality. Empathetic creativity leverages people's strengths. These leaders seek to understand what strengths their employees have and then provide opportunities for them to be used to best effect. It might mean juggling assignments to match up strengths and tasks. It could involve inviting employees to bring forward passion projects. It definitely entails observing and talking to your team about what they get the most satisfaction from doing and why, and then putting that information to use. These behaviors also include demonstrating a willingness to actively take on another's point of view, not only when it is necessary, like in times of change, but as a regular practice. Empathetic creativity is largely driven by imagination and fed by curiosity about others. Through behaviors like these, the skill of creativity equips a leader to look at a problem and then evaluate the circumstances, explore the practicalities, and consider the human factors in order to discover what could work best. Now, how does all of this contribute to grace, the choice of grace? Built into each aspect of creativity, we find space. The kind of space that makes room for people to try, fail, learn, and eventually succeed. It's space to think, to experiment, and even space to feel. When a leader makes this possible, chooses to weave this into the workplace, employees will experience care and support because they have been given grace. We'll be back next Tuesday with an episode featuring other voices, sharing thoughts on creativity. The following week, I'll share a lesson for effectiveness, and we will take a short break at the end of the month. Look for a replay that week. But later this season, we'll explore the role and importance of engagement. If this episode was useful, you can support the show by following or subscribing on your preferred podcast platform, or by sharing it with someone who's navigating similar leadership challenges. The latest companion toolkit is now available. Check the show notes for a link to request your copy. If you want updates on episodes, resources, and upcoming offerings from 123 Limited, you can join the newsletter at any time. Thanks again for listening.